Veterans, let's talk about IBS. Yes, your stomach. Let's talk about that and what is presumptive under the PACT Act, because there seems to be a lot of confusion out there, and hopefully I can clear some things up. The PACT Act was signed into law August 10th, 2022. And what it did, amongst other things, was create a list of what's known as presumptive conditions that should be service-connected if the veteran served in a certain area of the world at a certain time period and now has these conditions. But let me back up a bit because I just covered a lot of ground really quickly and I want to hopefully explain some terms here. Now let's go back to the 3 pillars of VA disability. The 3 pillars of VA disability are an in-service event, a current condition, and a nexus between the two. But to put it in plain English, what that really means is something happened to you in service, something is wrong with you today, and there's a connection between the two. And that nexus could be a secondary service connection because there's another condition that's already service connected. So there are a lot of ways to get there. But the one that I'm concerned about today is the presumptive theory or the presumptive nexus or connection between the two. Let's put this into context. Presumptive service conditions are ones where the VA will say that if you have this condition and you meet certain criterias, there doesn't even really need to be a medical opinion or nexus opinion that connects these two items because the science has shown that after so much exposure in a certain area, these conditions are known to be caused by whatever that exposure was. The most common one of these is Agent Orange. So if you're a Vietnam veteran, it would presume that you were exposed to Agent Orange while in Vietnam. And if you now have diabetes, well, the science has shown that it was almost certainly caused by, or there's strong evidence that it was caused by the exposure to Agent Orange. So the VA has said, well, we're just going to presume that if you have diabetes now and you were in Vietnam back then, it's service connected. It means there's no medical opinion necessary, no connecting the dots. You were in Vietnam, there's something wrong with you now, the VA takes care of the nexus. What does that mean for the PACT Act? Well, the PACT Act identified a number of conditions that are service connected based solely on whether or not you were in certain areas at certain times. Specifically, if you were in the Middle East or Southwest Asia Theater of Operations after about 1990, and you come down with one of these conditions, which include various breathing conditions or forms of cancer, the VA was going to assume that they're related to your time in that part of the world. So all you have to do as the veteran is show that you were in that place at that time and that you have a current diagnosis. What makes this even easier is the VA has a duty to assist, so they will actually pull your service records and hopefully create a chronology of when you were, where you were, and so on to show that you were in an area that is qualified under the PACT Act, and then all you have to do is submit a medical record or tell the VA where the medical record is to show that you have that current diagnosis in order to connect the two, hopefully. When it works, that's how it's supposed to work. Let me give you an example. If you deployed to Iraq in 2003, 2004, and you now have colon cancer, well, colon cancer is a digestive cancer which is listed under the PACT Act. All you have to do is apply for VA disability for colon cancer. If it's your initial claim, you might have to submit a DD-214. DD-214 should show that you were in the Middle East, as well as a medical record showing that you were diagnosed. Now, if you're being treated at the VA for colon cancer already, super easy because the VA can actually pull VA medical records directly into your claims file. That's it. There's no other thing that has to be shown. You were in the Middle East, you now have colon cancer, they presume the two are connected. The VA may still do what's called a disability benefits questionnaire C&P exam to determine the severity of your condition or to see where you are now under treatment, but they're not going to need a medical opinion. So that's what a presumptive condition is. But there's another type of presumptive condition that gets really confusing. And before I talk about that one, let's talk about what's not presumptive. First of all, sleep apnea is not on the presumptive list for the Middle East under the PACT Act or, as far as I know, any other particular set of laws. Sleep apnea, you have to show was caused by something in service. What about irritable bowel syndrome? I get this a lot. Folks ask, hey, my irritable bowel syndrome, say that 10 times fast, is not service connected, but I was in the Middle East. Shouldn't I be presumptively service connected under the PACT Act? And the answer is not really. And that's where I come to something called a MUCMI. All right? M-U-C-M-I, the MUCMI. Now, what is a MUCMI? The MUCMI is an acronym. It's a medically unexplained chronic multi-system illness. And what that is it's a diagnosis by a doctor that shows that you have some sort of multi-system condition and they can't really explain why. And that often manifests itself in such things as fibromyalgia, which is a multi-system illness. People don't really know what it's caused by. It's usually a diagnosis of exclusion, chronic fatigue syndrome, or other types of myalgias where there's not a blood test you can do for it. It's rather a collection of symptoms and they don't really know what causes it. But what the evidence shows is that folks will come back from Southwest Asia, Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, and all of a sudden develop this fibromyalgia or develop chronic fatigue syndrome, most likely based on some kind of exposure or something that happened downrange. Now, IBS, Irritable Bowel Syndrome, is often a symptom. And one of these symptoms that's in the fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue syndrome MUCMI. It's a symptom. So is IBS presumptive under the PACT Act? Not really. It has to be part of a diagnosed condition that is also itself presumptive. So this is where it gets really confusing. Now, what if you think you have fibromyalgia? Well, fibromyalgia really needs to be diagnosed by a doctor. It's not something you can self-diagnose. Same with chronic fatigue syndrome. The other thing is too, is people are forgetting, is that IBS could be caused by lots of different things. There's medical evidence out there that show that anxiety can lead to IBS. It can also lead to GERD. There's evidence out there that shows that various medications can lead to chronic stomach problems, and you might be taking these medications for another service-connected condition, which would make your IBS connected on a secondary basis. So again, it gets a little complicated, but here's the takeaway advice, and it took a long time getting there, so I apologize, but here's the takeaway advice. The question that you need to ask yourself when you're trying to get IBS service-connected is, what is causing my IBS? And how do I draw a line between what's wrong with me today and what happened back in service? Do I have terrible stomach problems because my medication, my pain medication for my service-connected back injury is doing it? Or do I have IBS for a totally different reason that I can also link to service? Or can I not link it to service? And you might not be able to do this on your own. You might need the help of your own physician. Maybe talk to your doctor about this. Explore how maybe this condition is related to service. Now, the VA is ultimately responsible for getting you that exam, that C&P exam medical opinion to help you get there. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of these C&P medical examiners aren't that great at doing that. And maybe sometimes a nexus letter might help. Again, every case is different. Nexus letters aren't always the answer. So it gets a little complicated with that as well. But again, the takeaway is you should have an idea as to how your condition is related to service when you apply, and then build your evidence around that. With that said, thanks for tuning in. If you believe that your condition is service connected one way or the other and you've been denied service connection, or you think you've been underrated, reach out, give us a call, see what we can do to help you out, appeal those decisions. Till next time, take care.